Just a yes or a no. Well, if you haven't thought about going to the summit, or if you've never been, I'm going to try to inspire you to go this year, September 11th through 13th in Washington, D.C. I have some amazing presenters, starting with Google. We'll have the folks from J. Crew, The Vitamin Shop, SAP, and a very, very special guest, which, we've done this before where we bring someone who is a luminary in the industry. And of course, the company does not want us to reveal the executive that we're bringing to the Technology Summit, but I hope you can make it. And I'm going to give you a little stimulation here to get yourselves on board. How about $449? I'll give you 2 nights hotel and a full summit pass. Right now at the Hamilton Crown Royal, I think we're looking at about $350 a night. It's a heck of a deal. $449, 2 nights hotel stay. If you want to go in the questions control interface, just go ahead and type yes, and we'll get you set up. I'll send a link out after this session. All right, a couple of upcoming seminars I want to tell you about with Paul Bowman from Wexer. We're going to focus on mobile and in-club experiences. It's going to be July 12th at 2 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time on Wednesday. And the next day, back-to-back, and this session's already almost sold out, it's how to grow your gym's personal training business with Human Faki. Again, this is a session that's going to be sold out here relatively soon. I'll send you links after our session here today is done. All right, so I think everyone is fairly familiar with using the control panel and specifically the questions module inside of the control panel. If you haven't and you're just joining us here for the first time, go ahead and just type a question in. You can say, yes, I'm going to the Tech Summit, or whatever you'd like to do, just to make sure everybody's good with using this interface. Excellent. Thank you, Jeff. Looking forward to seeing you at the Tech Summit. Appreciate it. Thank you, Adam. I think you guys got it. So let's just keep on rolling. Here we go. I have an incredible lineup for you today. It's the Technology Summit Advisory Board. And we're going to kind of go in order here from left to right with Adam Podber, Larry Carrington, Adam Zaitsev, and of course, Garrett Barunda from 24 Hour Fitness. We've got basically an hour with our team here. We're going to pass it over here shortly. And Adam, if you could, take it away.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. I also appreciate being with a depth of field that's pretty darn impressive, actually. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us as well. So this is interesting. So the direction I took for today's conversation was interesting learnings that we can pull from the hotel industry. In my past, I've had some experience with Starwood Hotels and specifically the W brand. And I've always been enamored by the way that they focus on using technology for customer service. So in theory, the entire presentation that I'm going to give is focused around how hotels and what they can teach us, basically. So think about this. Hotels are a world that survives on customer service. Their lifeblood is customer service. Now, we all think that in the fitness industry, we too survive on customer service. But in reality, we try as best we can for customer service. The hotel industry has to survive on it. So think about this as a fun fact. The number one reason customers will not book a specific hotel is by reading a negative review. Okay. Now, considering in the fitness space, we obviously want to respond to all social commentary, all negative reviews, all positive reviews, but typically we survive them. In the hotel industry, many of the sites that feed you room reservations and dollar values also feed you the reviews right then and there on the screen. So it leads to this amazing, immense power from the consumer sentiment. So it hasn't escaped the hoteliers of the world. They're investing and have invested this ton of money, time, human power, and technology to better the experience for every single person who walks in their door or online. I think that I use this as a jumping off point because I'm hoping that in the end, you'll be able to connect in your mind some process that you've gone through in a hotel that's either been a positive or negative customer service experience, realizing that more than likely technology played a part in it. And hopefully we can all then connect it back to our fitness world and bring it to our customers in the right way. So in today's changing gym landscape, right? The fitness guest is actively looking for positive and negative sentiment. That's the total difference. You know, a few years ago, this was like, hey, I'm going to join the gym that's within half a mile of my house. And while that's still the case, more and more people, the millennial generation, are tuned into what the offering is, how they treat people, and they just demand more from us than we've ever had before. So if you could, thank you. So hotels are learning from us, right? This is very obvious. It's become more obvious probably in the last 6 months than ever. The goal here, the charge is let's learn from them how they're learning from us. So think about this. The fitness industry is continuing this meteoric growth with a high percentage of people who've never been members of a gym before finally getting out and joining gyms. Those gyms are everything from full service to high value, low price, and everything in the middle. They're classes, they're a la carte, they're CrossFits, they're Gold's Gyms, they're Blinks, they're Equinoxes, they're all sorts of different models. And our friends in the hospitality industry have taken notice, right? And they're changing it up. So if you look at room fitness as an interesting way of showing how the hospitality industry is kind of paying attention to us and using technology. So they're using things like TRX equipment, they're using spin bikes, they're using connected cardio equipment, all within the room, feet away, actually. So they use this deep personalization model where they understand the consumer and they say, you know what, typically we know you like to work out using kettlebells. So we're actually going to have them in your room so that you can wake up in the morning and get a kettlebell exercise. So it's this surprise and delight for their guests that companies like Hilton and Westin and a few others are really just kind of keying in on right now. So think about this. By using those same technologies and capabilities, we can leverage that same set of information in an entirely new way, okay? Just remember, keep the focus of every technology on the customer, not the project. It's not about the technology, it's what the technology can do for your customer. Give your gym customers an experience that they would probably pay for in and of itself. So let's take a look at surprise and delight. Let's look at what hotels do best. They know who you are, they ease your access, and they personalize based on your tastes. Now consider this. Look at the top left picture. This I found really, really interesting. Comfort Suites, this is a local chain in Tallahassee. This is actually not even done by the corporate. They did this whole thing where they started wrapping Hershey bars and putting your name if you were on one of their loyalty programs. And that is knowing who you are, and it's deep personalization at its best, right? So they knew that you were interested in chocolate, because what I had found out is they were not just doing this on Hershey bars. They were doing it on candies. They were doing it on drinks of water as well. And it was changing based on who was staying in the room. Look at Starwood Hotels, keyless access, right? So they know that the hardest thing in the world is to keep track of that key. They don't want to have to make the keys. They don't want to have to replace the keys. They don't want you to have the inconvenience of forgetting your key and having to come back to the front desk. So what do? They use Bluetooth capabilities, and they give you room access right from your phone on most phones. Now, going a bit further into personalization, Hilton is actually launching this project of which you will actually fill out information. And in that information, it'll be things like, how do you like the lighting in your room? What do you prefer your Wi-Fi access code to be? So you can actually match it to your house. What do you like the temperature of the room to be? Also, even what are your favorite channels on the TV? And those will be the favorites when you get into the room. That is become table stakes. It's no longer a, wow, that's amazing. This is an expectation if you're spending a few $100s on a hotel. If you could, next. So think about this. What can we do best? We also can know who you are. We can ease your access to the club, and we can personalize based on your tastes. So just a couple of little snippets here, right? We can do things like use facial recognition and other technologies to know who you are before you get to the club, as you walk through the vestibule, easing that access. Now that I know that Todd, I'm going to use you as the example, is my fitness member, I have a bunch of questions I want to ask Todd. And on the output of that, I'm going to get things like, does Todd like to hang out with other people, or does he like to kind of work out alone? Does Todd prefer towels? Does Todd actually like a certain type of drink or things like that that I could possibly provide him? So that information is key, right? Keeping that personalized level of information so that you can give it back to your member. That expectation in the fitness industry is changing, and people want that. If you could, Todd. Thank you. So think about this. What technologies can I use to know, ease the access, and personalize that gym experience? So how do I do it? That's the multi-million-dollar question. Here's the good news. It doesn't necessarily need to cost a ton. In some cases, anything at all. So I'm actually going to use an example here. We are a customer of Motionsoft. Motionsoft is a member management system. It's also a CRM, everyone. You already have a CRM. You just need to use it. Now, this is not a huge change in technology. This is operational training. You want to train all of your staff to rely on all of those funny looking blank fields in the member profile. You know, the ones we just kind of breeze past. Those fields are there. That can be the difference on the impact that you need to feel personal.
He likes to do that, though.
I'll give you an example. Do you know that it's Bill's birthday? So it's a birthday field. Chances are you already have the information. Why not make note of it? Why not make your machine sing happy birthday? Why not have it pop up a note that says today is Bill's birthday? And the next time Bill comes in on his birthday, give Bill a gift. Those are small things. Even saying happy birthday is enough to create a personal relationship with Bill. Now, going a little further, right? Not just using the CRM capabilities, which really will have a substantial impact. Using advanced technologies. So using things like beacons. So these little Bluetooth ability to trigger when I access a certain place in my club, or even location aware Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi that tells me that this person's in my club in general, or more advanced facial recognition to find out who's walking in your door. The trick is if we can find out before they get to the desk, that is where the special sauce is. So I'm going to tell you a little hotel story real quick, and kind of show you the parallel here. I stayed in a hotel. It was a boutique hotel. I'm not going to mention the name of it. It was not a large chain. And this was such a small thing that made such a huge impact on me. I was staying in Chicago, and I went to this hotel, and I walked into the hotel, and I got to the front desk, and they said to me, Mr. Podber, it's so great to see you here today. I was just wondering how I could possibly help you. So my amazement was I wasn't wearing a tag. I didn't have a name tag on me. I didn't have a big picture of my face that said Mr. Podber's here. What I did know is that they knew my name, albeit a bit creepy, but they did know it. And you know what it was? They had an ability to have communications with their bellboys. The bellboy wound up seeing my luggage tag, and on the luggage tag had my name. So he very quickly radioed to the front desk that Mr. Podber was here and checking in. Such a small thing, right? Such a small use of technology. Now, today, that's going a bit further, right? So they're using apps and beacons to do what the radio used to do. So now it becomes 100% effective instead of just when you happen to have a luggage tag set up. But it was really a big moment for me. And actually, oddly enough, when my wife and I go back to Chicago, we only stay at that hotel now. And it's a subconscious thought. We're going to stay there because they know Mr. and Mrs. Podber. So thinking about that, right? I've got one more story about the hotel industry. Working for the company that I used to work for, they have a process in place called the Who Blast. So they actually have a technology-enabled system that sends a push notification to all of the employees of the hotel when a certain guest enters the hotel. Typically it's used for VIPs, but it's used for others at different times. And what they'll know is that the person in the elevator, the person who's the maintenance person in the bathroom, so the personal trainers for us, the maintenance people in our own bathrooms, they get a notification and they say, you know what, Bill's here, and Bill's an important person to us, and here's some pertinent information about Bill to strike up a conversation. Realizing that that simple use of technology has now enabled eyes up time. Okay, eyes up time is the most important thing. It's more important than an email or a push or an advanced technology. If you can use those technologies to create a flow of information and put it in the hands of your front desk staff, when they get approached by the members, you now have empowered them. They don't need to look at the screen. They're going to look up and say, Todd, welcome to the club. So you had a great workout last week, 45 minutes on cardio, not too shabby. Now, Todd's having a conversation with the human being. He's taken completely out of the fact that he's got to check in at a gym, he's got to get to the lockers, and now we've got a human-to-human relationship. If you could, next slide, Todd. So thinking about that, right? So now we've got a few different hotel technologies, the use of their CRM, the Bluetooth beacon technology, the ability to use even radio and push notifications to get information between employees. Now let's flip it on its end. So think about this. Now that the hotel industry has decided to solve some of their problems with fitness, add fitness to the rooms, add different workout regimens as part of the package, how can we solve our problems with a bit of classic hotel charm? Think room service. Room service doesn't need to be served in a room. So if you know where your member is because they're logged into a cardio machine, or they've triggered a beacon, or they're on your Wi-Fi, we can increase our revenue and our customer touch by delivering what the member needs when they need it. Why can't we gently remind them during a cardio workout that we know they're having, that they need a drink or a towel, and it'll help complete that circle and feed the engagement. So now we've got our revenue from it, so we've got our great ROI out of it. We've got them on the machine and the surprise of being walked over with a drink that they just requested. They don't have to go to a drink case. They don't have to go to a smoothie bar. They don't have to stop their exercise. And we've literally put the whole thing right in their hands. The circle's complete. They're happy and we're happy. Next slide, if you could. Think about this as well. Gyms are a pain to get to. Hotels aren't. We know that. So think about the fact that we lose tons and tons of our leads and don't convert them for the simple inconvenience of getting to the gym. We all know that we do those concentric circles when we look at a gym location and we say, where is our traffic going to be? And after a certain distance, we give up on the possibility of even capturing those people. Why not think outside the box? Whether it's a partnership with a rideshare company or even a DIY shuttle service, we can use technology and booking systems like the one you more than likely already have for PT and SGT and group training and all sorts of other functions and features in your club. And we can provide access and expand our reach further than originally anticipated. Let your member get online and book themselves a ride to your gym. Now, mind you, I'm aware that it doesn't work in some different spaces. It may not even work in my own, but there are spaces out there and gym models out there who would greatly benefit from that extended reach and that extended member base. If you could. Here's a wild one. This one, I'm blown away by the amazing work that this company is doing. Why not create a conference space? Okay, so it's a bookable space. It generates revenue just like your group training room does. Companies like WeWork are actually getting in on the action. They're creating fitness conference spaces. They actually have models where you can get in and get circuit training done while you're in the middle of a conference room. You pay for it. You book the room. There's no reason why that has to happen in WeWork. There's no reason why that has to happen in a hotel. It can happen where we have the most fitness equipment and the most fitness intelligence. Consider adding things that every hotel provides to a traveler. A business center, an area where there's a bunch of PCs. Let somebody hang out after their workout. Some video conferencing. Give them a room where they can have a conference call. Maybe they do half their workout, then go for a video conference, then come back. Maybe you make that bookable. Maybe it's only for premium members, etc. And then finally, quiet areas. We all know that our gyms are extremely noisy. Members would very much appreciate having a small quiet area, just like they do in hotels, where they can either unwind or frankly get some work done. So I think that those are all areas that we would want to focus on, and we can adopt what hotels do today and make it really, really special in the fitness space. If we could, next slide, thank you. So hotels are trailblazing. They're trailblazing because they have a lot of money. They're trailblazing because they absolutely need to, right? So hotels are always going to be on their customer service game. We can be staring at them. We can be adopting pieces of their technologies, and we can be using it to our advantage. We can take their CRM ideas. We could take their ease of access ideas. We could take their hyperlocation and revenue streams and omni-channel presence and take it all and adopt it to the fitness area. But just remember, we're not trying to find technology. It's the big part. We're trying to create better experiences for our members. Use that as a filter and the technology will follow. Technology works best when it enables convenience and personalization and then gets the heck out of the way so our most powerful tool, the humans, can interact with other humans. That's the customer service special sauce. The humans don't care about the technology. They care about what it makes them feel and how it helps them interact. By giving our staff the knowledge that a guest has arrived, what they want and need, and how they like to be treated, we can provide amazing moments of surprise and delight in the fitness space. Moments we can blog about, moments we can put on social networking, and moments we can use to attract new members. By giving our member what they Thank you very much.
Awesome, Adam. Hey, thank you so much, man. I'm inspired and energized, and I'm going to get the heck out of the way as well, too, in part because we've got so many great presenters that are coming up. I want to make sure that they all get a chance to run through their insights. So let me pass this over to Larry Carrington, the Director of Information Technology at Wellbridge. Larry, welcome to the Motionsoft Technology Summit webinar series, and thank you for being part of the Motionsoft Technology Summit Advisory Board.
Todd, thank you very much for that welcome, and thank you to everybody for joining the webinar today, and especially to my esteemed colleagues on the panel. It's an honor to actually be part of this webinar with you. So I just wanted to kind of add on to what Adam had said, and Adam had a lot of great insight, and hopefully I can kind of just shed a little bit more light on that moving forward. So going to the next screen, as Todd showed or Adam mentioned, all of our members or everybody has expectations in this world, whether it's relationships with a husband and wife, your child and your parent, your boss and the supervisor. Everybody has expectations, and those expectations, particularly for club members, are changing. They also have expectations of the clubs for the clubs. And Todd, as you move on, it's becoming more and more and more. What are those expectations that members have? They want more choices. They want more contact. They want more personalization, especially in this digital age. That's going to be the challenge that we as clubs are faced with. So how do we interact with our members to make sure we're meeting those member expectations? So as we said, one of the first things is more choices. In this digital world, people are expecting a lot of flexibility, the ability to pick and choose what they want, those type of things. So we're going to have to change the way we align with our members' demands. We have to be flexible enough to think of doing like maybe a pick and mix membership or variable combinations of online training and face-to-face coaching so that the members get the choices that they want most. The other thing that we're seeing now in this digital world is they want more contact. It's not good enough just that they can come into the club and work out, but they want to have that interaction. As Adam mentioned before, there's that need for that human interaction. So we want to make sure we can continue that with more contact. And how can we get that contact? One of the best ways now is that everybody has a mobile device. So we can get that contact by using those mobile devices to aid in things such as club check-in and class check-ins. By using geophysical locators in the clubs, we allow members that we know if they've already registered for a class, as soon as they're near, they're able to log into or sign into that class. They're able to check in automatically. And that way we have that contact with them. We could also use that contact with them on the reverse side. And that now that we know members have checked in, we're able to text them and interact with them. As Adam mentioned, as they're checking in, I envision the front desk as getting a little text or a little message on their screen saying this member is just arriving in the gym. And if it is their birthday, they can say happy birthday. And those are the type of those personal interactions that our members, I think, will remember and keep them coming back to the gym. Some of the other technologies and some of the other things that we need to look at is more personalization. As we mentioned, it's nice to kind of have a member walk into the club and just say, good morning, Larry, or good morning, Adam, good morning, Todd, or what have you. That interaction where we know the members' names and what have you. And some of the things that we can do that with is integrating some of these mobile apps with presence and facial recognition. By doing this, we're able to use some of the technology, and if you could go back one more slide, Adam, excuse me, Todd, just using the apps to provide the guided meditations or instructions for members based on the equipment that they're using. So now that we know who the member is and we know where they're going in the club, we're able to interact with them on a personal level so that we can give them better instruction for the equipment that they're using. We can then recommend classes or personal training based on the regimen that we see them doing. So those are just some of the things that will aid in giving our members a more personalized touch so that they know that we're interested in what they're doing in our clubs. Kind of next slide there, Adam. So as mentioned, not only do we want technology to aid our members and allow us to service and enhance their experiences, we want to then flip that technology to have the workers or the staff in the club better facilitate how we're dealing with our members. And how we do that is in a couple of ways. Next slide, Todd. Some of the things we can do is alerting the staff digitally when members arrive so they can greet and interact with them. As I mentioned, we like to have our staff greet people as they walk into the clubs and allow them to interact with them on a personal level. Next. Based on the information that we've collected, now the staff can guide members to equipment and classes that best suit them. As Adam mentioned, we're gathering a lot of information about our members. We have a lot of information in our databases on our members, but now we're able to use this information to interact with them on a personal level. And then we can give our staff this information to make sure they're communicating with the members in the best possible manner. The floor staff is even better able to engage the members now that they know what the member is trying to achieve. So we can send this information to our personal trainers so that they know Mr. Jackson is here. He likes to work on the treadmills. We can now have a personal trainer go over and talk with him to give him some instruction on some of the exercises or some of the conditioning that he can do to get the most out of his visit at the club. So those are just some of the ways that we can utilize technology to improve the members' experience at the clubs. As we look at some of the other things that we can do with technology, it's important to know that we can utilize this to also check the equipment to kind of give members a heads up saying which equipment is in use beforehand, etc., so that they're able to better plan their workouts, etc. So I know I kind of rambled through this, kind of saved some time for my next colleagues. But Todd, thank you very much for this opportunity and look forward to working with you guys again.
Oh, Larry, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Attendees, this is your chance to pose questions to our four presenters today. If you could, please use the question interface inside of the control panel. This is your time. I'm going to make a quick transition here and introduce our final two speakers, Adam Zaitsev, the Chief Information Officer from Gold's Gym, and Garrett Barunda, the Director of Member Technologies at 24 Hour Fitness, who have some really insightful slides here that they'd like to present as well, too. Adam, let me turn it over to you and kick things off.
Excellent. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate the chance to be here. So Garrett and I are going to kind of go back and forth here a little bit on some of our presentation here. And if you take a look at the next slide, some of the things that we want to cover today are technology disruption, right? And really, what is that in general? And what is that? And what are some examples we've seen in every industry, in other industries? How is that affecting us? And then we'll talk about making decisions and the impact to fitness that the technology disruption has. We'll talk about kind of decision points and how do we handle technology decisions and what some of the suggestions we have when you're looking at technology. And then, of course, we'll talk about really how does that affect the member experience and engagement. That's a real important topic for us today. All this technology is great, but the bottom line is how does it affect the member, their engagement, and their overall experience in their club, and how do you help them better achieve positive health outcomes as a result of some of the technology that we are implementing. So excited to talk to you guys today. So if we take a look at the next slide here, and we want to talk about disruption. So this is a simple A or B. I know that everyone on the call cannot answer me verbally, and you don't have to put A or B in the answers on the chat, but what does disruption look like in our industry? Is it Gold's Gym back in 1965, or is it B? Is it maybe introducing a new Group X class or something of that nature, right? And I'll save you the time and the thinking and everyone Googling right now on their computers. It's neither one of these really. Maybe 30, 40 years ago it might have been, but today it's certainly not really. And today we define technology disruption or disruption as an innovation that helps create a new market or a new value network that eventually, and this is really key here, disrupts and removes an existing market or value network and really displaces them. And usually it displaces an industry leader. And we'll talk about some of those. I'll give one sort of dramatic example, but it's one that I talk about a lot when we talk about disruption and we compare it to fitness and protecting our brick and mortar fitness world. So if we take a look at some technology things here, you can see on this next slide, internet speed availability, right? So here's a technology we all know. Unfortunately, I am old enough to remember downloading on a 56K or 14.4K modem. And we understand that back in the day in the 90s, it would take 10 minutes to download a song, right? And these days you can do it with a slow broadband speed. 24 meg is a slow broadband speed. You can download a song in about a second, right? Back then, if you were downloading a movie, which back then it probably wasn't legal, but if you were downloading a movie back then, it would take 20, 30 hours to download a 2 gig file of an old MPEG-2 movie back in the day, whereas today you can do a 2 gig high quality HD 1080p movie in 5 or 6 minutes, somewhere in that range, right? And of course, back then streaming, there was no such thing as streaming because you didn't have enough bandwidth to stream. And prior to the broadband internet disruption and technology change, that never would have been thought of, right? So how is this disruptive? Well, of course, we all use the internet every day, but the biggest comparison that I like to give to my team is, you've got Netflix and Blockbuster, right? So Blockbuster was out there, Hollywood Video, they were the leaders. I'm sure everyone on this call probably went to Blockbuster at some point and fought over that last Die Hard 3 that was sitting on the shelf that someone just returned and you wanted. And Netflix came in and killed that industry, not quite overnight, but fast, and not just with DVD delivery, but then streaming. And literally the entire industry, as the definition applied, was displaced. Right? And I know it's a bit dramatic, but we need to think about these things in the fitness industry. Blockbuster, the executives in Blockbuster's headquartered in Houston or Dallas years ago, they never thought they'd be disrupted. They thought they owned that market and no one was going to come in. They had the real estate, they had the storefronts, they had the people, they got the movies first, and they were disrupted. And we as fitness industry people can't think that way. We have to really understand that we can certainly be disrupted and technology can do that. And that's something very important. And that's why when we preach to our team here, which, you either disrupt or you get disrupted. And of course, we want to be the disruptors. The fitness industry veterans and the brick and mortar club and health club locations want to be the ones disrupting, not somebody else, right? So we take a look at another slide here. We've got, cloud storage. Again, a couple more comparisons. Back in the day, the Galileo space probe, 1989, not that long ago, it was considered the most advanced technology in the world. 1.6 billion to create. It had a whole whopping 114 meg magnetic tape recorder drive on it, the size of a very large printer. And today, on the size of a business card, you can get 2 terabytes, right? It fits in your pocket with room to spare. So you've got disruption in storage. And when you combine that with disruption in the broadband space, now you've got all these new things. For example, you've got cloud-based storage, right? Ubiquitous cloud storage. Who would have thought that we wouldn't be storing things on our hard drives or on our flash drives anymore? Everything would just be in the cloud, and we can get to it everywhere, in the boxes, and the Dropbox, and the Apples, and the OneDrives, and all those things kind of has led to this as-a-service disruption with the cloud being a piece of it. And we all use it every day, right? And like on our smartphones. Take a picture on your smartphone, 2 seconds later, it's on your iPad. Another second later, it's on your Mac. It's all there. It's all sunk up over the cloud because of the disruption in internet, because of the disruption in technology improvements in storage and things of that nature. And if we look at smartphones, you know, I'm not going to spend much time here. We all know this. Every single one of you are probably ignoring me right now. You're probably looking at your phone, looking at your Twitter. So everyone uses smartphones. If you look 2011, 35% of adults did. It's more than doubled now. So we get that, right? And then last but not least, I'm sure many of you have heard of this Internet of Things, this IoT. And you have to take a look and see, this is something that is still, it's just beginning. It is, I don't even think it's in its infancy. It's pre-infancy, but it's growing very quickly. And it's one of the many Twitter feeds that I follow is IoT. And every day you're seeing new things about IoT and how it's disrupting industries, whether it's, you know, the transportation, whether it's the manufacturing and factories, whether it's hospitals, I mean, the city, the things you can do and the things we can do. And some of us are starting to play within the health and fitness industry as it relates to IoT and smart internet connected devices. I mean, half of us probably have a Nest or smart thermostat at home. There's a great example of IoT and how it's disrupting us. So these are just some examples. I'm going to turn it over to my partner, Garrett, for a minute to talk about how this is impacting the fitness industry.
Hey, Adam, great job at capturing the torrid evolution of technology. I want to reiterate the statement you made about either you're going to be disrupted or you're going to be a disruptor. And I think that, you know, not only the example of Netflix, but think about Uber and Lyft and how they've completely become the new taxis of our generation. Think about Amazon, how it put Borders books basically 6 feet under and Barnes & Noble on their heels. Major disruptions to established companies in gigantic industries. And given that, I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that we are going to be disrupted as an industry, we in fitness. And though we are going to be disrupted by technology in every facet, I want to talk about 4 areas in particular. The first one's competition. So when I talk about competition, and Todd, if you can go to the next slide, you know, traditionally we think about, oh, how am I going to compete against Golds, against Blink, against Wellbridge? Well, it's not me as brick and mortar against other brick and mortar anymore. Now it's us versus technology and parks, technology and living rooms, technology and the beach. And you may say, hey, well, you know, my members could have gone and worked out there at any time in the past. Why is this going to make a difference? Well, the difference now is that the content is so ubiquitous and so good, even free content that you get from YouTube, you're able to get the information needed to really manage your fitness and drive a better health outcome for yourself. So as you're thinking about, you know, the things that are going to happen to you, how are you going to compete against this new world? Second, actually, and another thing to think about is personal training. Even if you have someone who is your member, why do they need personal training anymore? Again, given the accessibility and quality of the content available to manage your health and fitness routine, why don't you just use those things? And given the amount of revenue that our companies often rely upon coming for personal training, how are you going to address that? Again, you need to figure out ways to integrate these technologies into your personal training and into the 4 walls of your gym if you're going to remain competitive. Another area is operations. For operations, and the reason this is so important is because operations in large part impacts the most important resource that you have as a club, and that is your staff, the people working for you. Given, you know, the revolution in IoT, the fact that someone can walk through the door and be instantly recognized, the fact that they can personally purchase things through retail without having to talk to someone. These types of things, again, have an impact on how you're going to manage your people and how you're going to direct them into the right places. If you're not aware of this revolution, you're going to be taken by surprise. Personally, I would recommend that you help transition your resources, the people working for you, to be more customer focused. Let technology take over these rote tasks and have your people focus on your members. Another area is sales and marketing. And just, you know, there's a lot of great information on the slide and things to think about, but I think what I want to leave you with is all of us have very robust rituals and processes by which we try to attract people into our clubs, where we try to convert them into a lead, and then we try to make a sale. And we spend a lot of time, effort, and training in helping develop this expertise. But given technology, given the impact that the internet has had, and the fact that you can get information about every single product and get people's recommendations on it, is this really where you want to be investing your time and effort? Because maybe it really is on the web or on mobile, and that's where your customers are going to be coming from. Also, I want to talk about member satisfaction. And I have a slide here of an immaculate locker room and a locker room that has obviously been destroyed. The reason I bring this up is because a member's interaction, their perception of the gym isn't just their perception anymore. Again, within a matter of seconds, and given the particular social network, they can share a photo from inside a dirty locker room to their friends, to all their contacts, or to the whole world. And that's how people are going to perceive your club. And the fact is, if you're not aware of it, if you're not cognizant of what this perception and how fast it can be built or destroyed, you need to be thinking about it. You need to figure out ways how you're going to address it. A quick side note, there are companies like NetPulse, and often they'll talk on these webinars hosted by Todd. But NetPulse has a great feature to their mobile app, which is mobile feedback. Essentially, one of your members is leaving the gym. They are aware that they just left the gym, and they prompt them, say, "Hey, how was your experience?" If you give it a 4-star, they then prompt you to go ahead and post on Yelp or Facebook. If it's a 1-star, then they take you down a customer service path where the members, issue can be addressed. First, they apologize multiple times, and then put you in a workflow where it can be addressed. Again, that's an opportunity to be a disruptor, leveraging technologies to manage the perceptions of your club. So, given these 4 areas, given the fact that, disruption is going to happen in every facet of the gym, we want to talk about solutions and how you decide on what solutions that you're going to implement, where you're going to invest your money. And so I want to turn it back over to Adam to talk about decision points, because he is someone who has to make these types of decisions every day. And not only does he have to make these decisions, but he makes good ones. So with that, we'll turn it back over to Adam.
Thank you, sir. Well, good is a relative term. So I appreciate that. So, hey, we want to talk about a lot of things today. You've heard a lot of good ideas and a lot of good uses for technology. And I think the important thing we try to preach, whether it's to my team, whether it's talking to colleagues in the industry like Garrett and everyone else on the call, is, don't just make a technology decision because you see all these things happening, because vendors are calling you, because you're seeing disruption, because you're worried about it. Don't make one unless they can hit, in our opinion, at least 2 of the 4 kind of key areas within the club operations that we try to focus on, right? So we want to talk about that. And hopefully, if you leave here with one of these and it gives you some ideas and spurns some ideas about technology you've seen and how it can help your club, then hopefully we've done our job today. So for example, the first one is the technology you're looking at. Is it going to improve your club's operational efficiency? Are you going to be able to process prospects into members faster because of this technology? Can you streamline the management of your equipment and repair and how that works and how it auto notifies you? Can you do a better job streaming check-in for Group X and small group training instead of with pen and paper? And this one is big. This next one is big, although it doesn't sound very sexy. But can technology improve kind of your real-time access to data about your club, your members, your employees, and as executives and operators and owners of a club, can you make more intelligent and more efficient business decisions as a result of that, right? So that's all about operational efficiency. So that's an important one. The second one is, can this provide a positive impact to your staff, right? Staff is a tough one. The HR aspect of running clubs is not easy, but will technology that you're looking at or that's being pushed to you, will it help your team? Will it help them perform their core duties faster? Can they be more accurate? Will it allow them to perform functions that maybe expand outside of their normal core scope of work, but bring more value to you? And as previously stated on the call, will it allow them to give a greater focus and be smarter and more intelligent when they're talking to the member and get right to what the member is looking for, right? In addition, will it make their job enjoyable? We all know a happy and productive employee is certainly going to be more loyal to you and to your brand and stay with you longer. And we all are very well aware of the costs of onboarding employees and keeping them and how it's much easier to keep an employee happy than onboard new ones, right? The third one here is, does this technology you're looking at, does this decision you're thinking about, will it improve an existing revenue stream? Or will maybe, will it create a whole new revenue stream? I mean, membership PT, right? We're small group training. What else? We're trying to find new revenue streams. So for example, will the technology, like a much more streamlined, efficient, maybe even bot-enabled type of join online, will it help you add incremental member account? Will it take that revenue stream and increase it because it's being more efficient and utilizing new tools to get people who might not want to talk to a human to join your club? Or you know what, can it help you increase your non-dues related revenue, PT purchases and small group training by letting members buy it themselves through a really slick member self-service portal, or maybe right from the touchscreen on a lot of your cardio equipment that has the APIs now that you can then connect right back to your club management software system and let people buy PT right from the touchscreens, right? And this reduces friction and reduces barrier to entry, and people sometimes don't want to be bothered. They just want to make the decision and right in front of them while they're huffing and puffing and buy. In addition, again, new revenue streams. We're all looking for new revenue streams. So besides helping to improve existing ones, can technology create a brand new revenue stream you never had before? For example, if you implemented MyZone or FitMetrics with heart rate and activity tracking, can you create new group classes that you never had before and could charge a premium for? Or could you create other subscription revenues based upon those technologies from those companies that you didn't have prior, right? And the guys like that are being definitely disruptive in helping us as club operators introduce new offerings that we can charge for. What about beacon technologies? We've had people call us, talk about it. If you're walking around your club and Apple just made an announcement about tying in and opening up NFC to the fitness industry, could you direct targeted promotions as a result of where, depending on where the person was in the club, or if they walk by the smoothie bar and they stop for more than 15 seconds, would you pop up a 20% off coupon as a result of beaconing technology and location technology, right? That's important. That's a new revenue stream for you you wouldn't have had prior. And then lastly, of course, online fitness subscriptions. Companies like Wex are out there giving us opportunities to utilize technology to create online subscription and things of that nature. And that's super exciting for us as well. And of course, last, improving member experience and engagement. I'm going to toss it back to Garrett for a deeper dive into that.
Thanks again, Adam. I want to talk about a couple of things when talking about member experience. And again, and deciding on what types of solutions you're going to implement, I think there's two particular criteria. The first criteria is that the solution that you implement has to be visceral. The people, your members have to feel it. I come back to the example of TiVo. 10, 15 years ago, the first time I heard about TiVo, I was like, oh, that sounds okay. But when I used it for the first time, it was a life-altering experience. That's the type of experience that you need to give your members when using technology. The second one is authentic representation in your technical choices. Given the amount of information that's available and how technology allows us to contact constantly every single member and everyone, there can be a bombardment effect. And over time, people will become deaf to those efforts to reach out to them. So you really need to put a focus on how to be authentic. Go ahead and moving on to the next slide. I have a couple of slides from a much larger presentation. Again, coming full circle about hotels and the airline and travel industry and what we can learn from them. These are all the different ones that I reviewed and learned some really interesting things from them. And I recommend that you go ahead and dive into all of these as well and see what they're doing for your learnings. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Just a quick sample of some of the cool things that people are doing. Here's one for Virgin Hotels. You know what? You're in New York, you're at a business meeting, it's 90 degrees and 100% humidity. The best thing in the world is to come back to a nice, chilly, air-conditioned room. And Virgin Hotels allows you to set the thermostat from your phone, from their app, while you're in your Uber on the way back to your hotel room. Second example, everyone knows how easy it is to check in and go with your boarding pass using your mobile app now. And then finally, I have an example of the hotel industry and how they can collect information to customize your experience. So with all that said, I want to talk about two examples of having a visceral experience and in addition, being authentic. The first one is the Art Hotel in Denver. I want to talk about the Art Hotel because I stayed there about a year ago and absolutely loved the virtual concierge that they had. It allowed me to call up my car when it was freezing cold outside. It allowed me to get warm towels very quickly on my way up from, the gym. And for me, those were visceral things because like, oh my God, this makes life so much easier. I can do things so much more quickly. In the end, however, the Art Hotel decided to go ahead and shut down the virtual concierge program. And the reason they did that is because they're a boutique hotel and they really value one-on-one connection with, you know, the people who stay at their hotel. And so I want to bring that up as an example of be who you're going to be. Make sure you're being authentic to what's most important to you. It's really key in the overall success of the technology decisions you're going to make. Finally, just to move things along, I want to talk about Disney and their Magic Band. You know, Disney, the happiest place on earth. And there's a reason for that. They really put great thought into how to make things better. This Magic Band is truly magic. Not only can you get your fast passes early in the morning so you can get on the rides you want to get on, not only can you get unlock your hotel room with your Magic Band, you can buy food. And the best thing about all of this is the fact that they'll send you tags that allow them to pick up your bags from the airport and deliver them to your room and then take them to the room. And then you pick them up back at the airport where you started from. Not only is this visceral, right? Because I defy anyone on the call to say that they never had a spat or disagreement with a loved one during traveling. Traveling is stressful, but Disney has found a way to make it less stressful and really give you that best place on earth, the happiest place on earth. Again, visceral experience as well as being authentic. That's how, you know, they have made the happiest place on earth extend all the way back to your travel. So those are the examples that I wanted to talk through and wanted to go ahead and give it back to Adam for some last thoughts.
Great, nice job. Thanks, Garrett. So, you know, in summary here, I think you've heard a lot of great examples on this call today. And I think as operators, we certainly recognize there's a lot of opportunity out there to utilize technology to benefit your clubs. And we think that the most important thing is just, you know, it's really critical to assess the decision points that we talked about earlier. Make sure technology, you know, helps solve those 4 key areas that we talked about, and really don't jump on board the bandwagon just because you feel it's riding. Make sure that there's a reason, as everyone pointed out to, as Adam pointed out to earlier, make sure it has a positive business benefit as well. And, you know, it's challenging and it's tough, and don't be afraid to talk to people. You know, you've got 4 people on this webinar who are considered quote unquote competitors in this space, but we talk regularly, we stay in touch, we share ideas. I have about a dozen different, you know, IT executives that I speak to regularly that would be considered competitors, but you know what, we're too big to not care about each other. We're too small to where if one of us had a big failure, you know, it would affect all of us. It wouldn't be positive. It would be negative to the industry, and we've got to try to help each other out there. And that's why groups like the IHRSA Global Technology Council and also FITSI, the Fitness Industry Technology Council, exist to help operators to share, collaborate ideas, and to help make sure we can all make smart technology decisions that will positively impact not only the industry but our clubs as well. So, Garrett, any last thoughts?
I think my last comment is just, you know, it's crucial that when you're looking at technology decisions, take off your operator hat, take off your IT hat, and put on your member hat. It has to mean something to the member for you to be successful. Thanks.
Awesome, gentlemen. Hey, thank you so much. Great presentation of technology in the fitness industry and some of the trends that are impacting our businesses and our industry as a whole. Attendees, this is your chance to pose your questions to our 4 participants today. If you could, please use that question module inside of the control interface. Again, this is your chance to ask questions for Adam, for Larry, for Adam Zaitsev, and Garrett Barunda. And while our attendees are posing questions, gentlemen, let me kind of kick things off. And Adam Podber, I'll start with you. I'm curious, is Apple or Google a potential disruptor of the fitness industry?
It's an interesting question. So in my opinion, Apple and Google could always be disruptors of any industry just by their sheer size. And size, I don't necessarily mean money. I mean ability to retain key pieces of information about the people who use their services. So I think that Apple and Google tend to like to partner with industries, which makes them a bit less of a threat and more of an advantage for us. So for instance, the fact that Fit and HealthKit are both central services that are willing to play nice with everything from a NetPulse app to Motionsoft even, and they'll deal with everything in between. I don't necessarily know that I would view them as the direct threat, but third-party services that use their technology and use their data mining efforts. Now, those could be big problems to those in the brick and click environments. We've got to find more ways to harness the data that companies like Apple and Google are willing to serve up and use that data to keep members invested in a physical experience, whether it's offering non-physical experiences like online and making sure that you've got classes that you can catch on your phone while you're at a park. It all has to be done against your brand, right? It all has to kind of fit with what you're trying to do. Gold's Gym has a specific model for how they do things. Wellbridge, a way they do things, 24-hour they do things. At Blink, we're about everybody happy, right? So thinking about that, how can I use companies like Google and Apple so that they don't become a threat to me? And how can I use the data that comes off of it to make the average person a little bit happier? So I'll give you a very quick example of that, and I'll turn it back to you. So for instance, if I know through Fit or HealthKit that a customer spends 5,000 steps a day typically, and today they did 6,500 or 7,000, if I can use my messaging and tone of voice to congratulate them on that outside of the four walls of Blink, well, then that's a recipe for success using these partnerships instead of allowing them to talk on your behalf.
Awesome. Hey, thanks so much, Adam. And I think it's an ongoing conversation and one that we'll certainly address at the Motionsoft Technology Summit. But I want to turn this over to you, Larry, and a question from Alan. And Alan's question is, what's the one thing that you've seen this year or that is on the horizon that is disrupting or going to disrupt the fitness industry?
That's a very good question. And I think it touches back on what Adam mentioned is how do you kind of partner with some of these companies, like you mentioned, Apple and Google, with all the information they collect so they don't become disruptors. I think they're offering some challenges now with how they're integrating or connecting with exercise equipment. So as we mentioned, we need to harness that data as well so they don't become disrupting to our industry. The key is, again, too, making sure we keep that interaction with the members and using the data that is being collected to our advantage to continually engage and enhance the members' experience.
Thanks, Larry. Adam Zaitsev, I'm curious. We're starting to see a lot of traction with smart cameras and their ability to not only count the number of members that are taking a group fitness class, but also to provide facial recognition. Is that going too far? I mean, how valuable is that information going to be to a club?
I mean, certainly the information is going to be extremely valuable, right, to a club in terms of marketing, understanding their habits, their trends. If you partner with other companies that provide services, if that information is shareable, I think it really does, however, raise lots of big brother type of concerns and data protection and privacy concerns. And, just like your fingerprint is something that's protected, is your face print something that's protected, and who has the right to use it. And I really do think that there's going to have to be some more legal input on something like facial recognition and things of that nature before we can completely utilize it and have our members be okay with it. But boy, I could certainly see how that could benefit us in many ways, going down the road, not just from a member experience standpoint, but also from a revenue generation standpoint.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. Garrett, a question from Martin. What club management software technology have you used in the past? What are you using now? And what tools do you think you'll need to use in the future to support these technology features that we're seeing come into the market now? Thanks, Martin.
So at 24-Hour Fitness, we're almost entirely homegrown relative to our club management software. The exception being that our cousin, the BFits, we are using Motionsoft there in order to do the back end for those. And I think the most important part of that question really is goes back to build or buy in general. Looking at requirements and deciding what it is you want to accomplish, and where the most important areas for you to invest in. And then, looking for the solutions that will make the most sense. And again, I would say be authentic about it. The technology is important, even the technology that you're going to use to run your operations. But the most important thing that you need to do is understand who you are in the space and what kind of club that you want to be, and to focus everything around that.
Thanks, Garrett. And I'm going to shift gears here. Adam, I've got a question from an individual who joined a little bit late, and I'm sorry, Almatis, if I'm mispronouncing that, my apologies. But it's actually an interesting question. Almatis is asking, how do we look at, kind of taking technology and applying it to our own specific situation? So, based on the type of gym that you're running or its location, what's the most profitable way to integrate these technologies to enhance the member experience?
Which Adam?
Was that for?
Sorry, Adam Podberg.
Thanks. Sorry, Zaitsev. So I'm trying to understand the question, right? Maybe a little bit of clarity if we could, actually. So what we're saying is that depending upon the type of club that you are, how would you choose technology?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that the question?
Each of you have, different types of operating businesses, different
Sure.
clientele. What's the best technologies based on the type of gym you're running? What do you select?
So here's the thing. So I can only tell you from the eyes of Blink, right, and our member base and that high value, low price segment. But what I can tell you is that if you're operating a facility, you've got to ask yourself a few questions. The member that I have, what does my member need? So you may want to know your average age from a member. You may want to query your member specifically using survey systems or even just direct interviews. Then you want to ask yourself what your brand's message is, right? So what does this group of facilities represent? So now you know a little bit about your member, you know a lot of bit about your brand, and then you've got to ask the bigger question, which is, what are my expansion plans? If you're a gym that has 50 or 100 locations or 1,000 locations, or are you going to be a gym that has 4 very, very specific locations? That's entirely up to you. Once you figure out kind of those 3 major areas, you can decide on a technology setup that'll work for you. So for instance, there are many times Blink buys versus builds. But then there are some other times where, for the nuances, the customizations, and the things that we're looking to really do, we'd rather build it ourselves because we know that we can do it in the unique Blink sort of way that we want to accomplish something. I think that for the Blink member, we focus somewhat less on things like wearable technologies and focus more on what you can actually do with your phone that exists in your pocket today. I think beyond anything, it's got to fit your customer, right? So beyond even how you feel as a brand or the message you want to put, if you just use that singular focus, you'd probably get 75% of the way there. So I guess I would throw that question back on the person asking the question. For your gym, who's your customer?
Thanks, Adam. It's a challenging question to ask. So let me frame this a different way, Adam Zaitsev. And if you could, how valuable are kiosks?
Yeah, good question. I mean, for us, we have yet to really implement kiosks in a really definitive way in our clubs. I do think they're very valuable in terms of being able to give self-service aspects to members, let them walk up without pressure, without having anyone bother them, and get the information they need. But at the same time, I do feel that the mobile phone and the mobile apps and things that we can do kind of can displace kiosks in a matter of many ways, because we are now giving people the same type of information in their pockets as we did on the kiosk. And with geolocating and beacon technology and things of that nature, if I'm standing in front of group X room A or B, I can pull up my phone and my app and know exactly the schedule going on there because my phone knows where I am, right? So you can really replace those things down the road. So I think the concept of the technology and kiosks are important, and I think we as operators need to think of how do we transfer some of that into the member's pocket and give them a closer relationship with what's going on in our club.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. I have a question from Jeffrey, who's curious about ClassPass, ZenRes, and Reserve with Google. Are we really driving our businesses to be more like hotels? Would you agree with that, Larry?
I think that's a good question. I mean, I think we want to learn from the hotel industry in the sense of what they do best in terms of how they cater to their guests. So in that sense, I think yes, we are trying to drive in that direction. But again, I think the key is keeping what are we staying true to in terms of the I guess the direction or the model for our clubs, and then what's going to cater to our members the best. So in some senses, yes, I think we are driving towards that direction. But again, we want to stay true to our members and making sure we're meeting their needs.
And Garrett, I'm curious, are equipment manufacturers outpacing technology innovation within the clubs themselves? How do you stay ahead of, or how do you guide equipment manufacturers to deliver the types of innovations that you're looking for your members specifically?
Oh, Todd, I think this is a really, really exciting area. I think there's a number of companies doing fantastic stuff out there. And I think the key is really partnering with them. I make multiple trips to visit manufacturers during the course of a year. And the collaborations on how you especially deliver content to machines in the sense of, hey, I want to work out in a particular way. I want to get my biceps bigger, or I want to develop my cardiovascular health. The opportunity to deliver that content to specific machines is fantastic. Not to mention the ability to capture that data and then to leverage that data to help people manage their fitness. I see a world where everything's connected. It's not only the mobile app, it's not only the machine, but it's the trainer as well. So the trainer stepping up to become in many ways a coach, helping a person figure out how they're going to use all the different opportunities associated with the club to manage their health, and not only in the club but outside of the club. And it comes back full circle. Be disrupted or be a disruptor. And the way that you're going to be a disruptor is to figure out how to make all these things play well together. And that includes working with the machine manufacturers to find their perfect place in that ecosystem.
Awesome. Hey, Adam Podber, Larry Carrington, Adam Zaitsev, and Garrett Barunda from Blink, Wellbridge, Gold's Gym, and 24 Hour Fitness. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us here today on the Motionsoft Technology Summit webinar series, and for being part of the Motionsoft Technology Summit Advisory Board. We are looking forward to seeing you at the Motionsoft Technology Summit in September, and hope our folks on the line here can join us as well too. Again, thank you. I'll be sending out a link so you can watch the video for this presentation. And if there are some follow-up questions, I'll forward those on to our presenters today. Thank you for joining us, and looking forward to seeing you in DC in September. Have a great day.
Thanks, Todd.